everyone. I'm Koala Teacher from One English Academy, here to help with your homework. It's going to be fun. You'll see. If we go too fast, don't worry. Just hit pause. Take your time and catch up. It's all because if you hold on tight, we'll learn and grow. With every step, the more you'll know. Are you ready? Let's go! Today, we'll be reviewing Unit 6. What time is it? In this unit, we learned how to say, when do you do? For example, when do you eat dinner? Or we also learned how to say, what time is it? We also learned how to say, oh no, I'm late. We learned how to tell the time. For example, it's 4:45, or it's 1:15, or it's 2:30. We also learned about words that we can use to talk about how often we do things. For example, always, usually, sometimes, and never. We talked about what we do on the weekend and how often we do it. 얼마나 자주 하는지. We learned different verbs like take a nap, do homework, use the computer, and ride a bike. You ready to start your homework? Let's go! On page 46, the directions say to unscramble and write. Scott and Andy are talking. Scott says at 5:30. So what is the question? Well, we have a big hint. Our first word will always be a capital letter. 첫 단어는 대문자로 시작하죠? Can you find the word that starts with a capital letter? Great! The first word in our question will be when. 언제. We have do, dinner, eat, and you. What comes next? When, do, who are we talking about? Ah, you. When do you? What? Eat. Eat what? Dinner. When do you eat dinner? Very good. Scott eats dinner at 5:30. In number 2, Andy says it's 5:45. 똑같이 find the word that starts with a capital letter. In question number 2, that would be what? We have now, is, it, and time. 지금 몇 시야? What time is it now? It's 5:45. In number 3, Andy says, see you tomorrow. 내일 봐. Look at Andy's face. He's not smiling. He looks like he's in a rush. Like, oh. So what would he say? In number 3, we have 2 words that begin with a capital letter. We have O and bye. Well, we know bye는 맨 마지막에 사용하는 거죠? 그러면 let's write bye here. Then we know that O comes first. Oh no! 난 늦었어. I'm late. Oh no, I'm late. Bye. And in number 4, Scott's mom says, that's okay. 괜찮아. So what would Scott say? 내가 늦어서 미안해. I'm sorry. I'm late. Great job. Check your answers and I'll see you on the next page. On page 47, the directions say to match. We're going to look at the clocks and match it with the correct time. Remember, if we have a clock and we have 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, the shorthand will tell us the hour. For example, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. and the long hand will tell us the minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20. So if we see here, our shorthand is pointing to 1. Then we know it's 1 o'clock. The long hand is pointing to 6. We know 6 is not 6, but minutes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. The time is 1:30. In number 1, we can see that the shorthand is pointing to 11. So we know that the hour is 11. What about the minutes? Right here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. What time is it? 11:30. Right here, it's 11:30. In number 2, we can see the shorthand is on 8 and the long hand is on 9. So if we know that 6 will always be 30, let's start here. 30, 35, 40, 45. So it is 8:45. Right here. For number 3, we can see that the shorthand is at the 1 and the long hand is at 5, 10, 15. The time is 1:15. Right here. For numbers 4, 5, and 6, I would like you to do it on your own and we'll check your answers. Here we go. Number 4, we have the shorthand on 5 and the long hand on 9. It is 5:45. In number 5, we have 3:30. Number 6 is 3:15. Double check your answers and we'll move on to part C. In part C, it says to look and write. In number 1, it says, what time is it? It's 2:30. In number 2, we need to ask the question and then answer. How do I say 지금 몇 시야? What time is it? Well, we see the shorthand is on the 4 and the long hand is on the 3. 5, 10, 15. It's 4:15. And number 3, what time is it? We see the shorthand by the 5 and we see the long hand by the 9. It's 5:45. Great. And number 4, what time is it? This one's easy. It's 7:30. Double check your answers and let's go to the next page. On page 48, the directions say to match. In number 1, the word says always, 맨날. Number 2, usually, 보통. Number 3, sometimes, 가끔. And number 4, never. So we'll match the word with the circles that show how often, 얼마나 자주 하는지. Ready? Number 1 is always, so the whole circle will be gray. Number 2, usually, so we'll match it to this one. Sometimes, 가끔, and never, right here. Great job! In part B, it says to write. The questions are, what do you do on the weekend? 주말에 뭐 해? If we see here, there's different percentages. 80%, 40%, 100%, and 0%. This percent talks about how often, 얼마나 자주 하는지. 그러면 in number 1, what do you do on the weekend? I 80% watch TV. 오, 그래도 꽤 큰 숫자죠? 그러면 usually. I usually watch TV. usually가 80%면 always은 100%겠죠? sometimes는 80%보다 더 낫겠지? 그러면 여기는 40%. never는 0. On the weekend, I 40%는 sometimes. I sometimes practice the piano. Let's write. Great. Number 3. What do you do on the weekend? 100%. I always use the computer. And last, number 4. What do you do on the weekend? I never go shopping. Check your answers and I'll see you on the next page. On page 49 in part C, the directions say to look and write. For number 1, 2, 3, and 4, we are going to use the word usually, 주로 or 보통. In number 1, the question says, what does he do on the weekend? Then we'll answer with, he usually does homework. In number 2, the question says, what does she do on the weekend? She usually uses the computer. Very good. Remember, when we have he, she, or it, we need to add an S to our verbs. use 아니고요. uses. Very good. In number 3, what does she do on the weekend? She usually rides a bike. And last, number 4, what does he do on the weekend? He usually takes a nap. Great job. Great. In part D, it says to circle and write. We'll look at the percentages again. 80%, 80%, 100%, 100%, 0%, 0%, and 40%, 40%. In number 1, she's watching TV 80%. Is it usually or always? Good. Usually. I usually watch TV. Remember, 이번에는 I로 시작하니까 S를 안 붙여도 돼요. I usually watch TV. Great. Number 2, 100%. I always or never. Good. I always take photographs. Very good. And number 3, 0%. I sometimes or never. I never use the computer. And number 4, 40%. I always or sometimes. Good. I sometimes talk on the telephone. Check your answers and we'll go to the next page. On page 50, the directions say to write. Remember, for words like I, you, we, they, we do not add an S. But for words with he or she, you need to add an S. For example, in number 1, you can see the word practice. When we use I, you, we, or they, there's no S. But if there's a he and a she, we need to add an S. Number 2, I, you, we, or they do homework. He or she, this one's a special one. DOS가 아니라 DOES입니다. He or she does homework. Great job! For number 3, 4, and 5, I would like you to do it and we'll check your answers. Ready to check? Number 3, study English changes, but we need to be very careful. The Y changes to IES. So STUDYS 아니라 IES. Studies English. Number 4, play tennis changes to plays tennis. Number 5, read email changes to reads email. Great job! In part B, we are going to match the word to the picture. Number 1, practice karate. We'll match it to the picture. For numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'd like you to do it and we'll check your answers. Ready to check? Number 2, play tennis. Number 3, study English. Number 4, do homework. Number 5, do gymnastics. Great job! Let's keep going. On page 51 in part C, the directions say to write. Remember, 100% is always, 80% is usually, 40% is sometimes, 0% is never. Number 1, when does he read email? He usually reads email after school. Usually는 이제 없고. Number 2, when does she do homework? She, 40%, sometimes does homework. She sometimes does homework after school. Number 3, 100%. So we'll use always. How do we ask the question? When does he study? Be careful. Y로 끝나니까 Y를 IES로 바꿔야 돼요. He always studies English after school. Number 4, 0%. So we'll say never. Our question is, when does she practice karate? When does she practice karate? 0%. Never. So, she never practices karate after school. Check your answers and we'll go to part D. In this part, it says to read and circle. Number 1, do you do your homework after school? 와, 다 채웠다. 100% 채웠으니까 I always do my homework after school. Number 2, do you ride your bike after school? 100%는 아닌데 I sometimes ride my bike after school. And number 3, do you take a nap after school? I never take a nap after school. Great job! Let's go to the next page. On page 52, you will do this page by yourself. The directions say to match and write. In number 1, you will match the picture to the word. The words will start with SW or ST. In number 1, we see a picture of a 학생. What's the word for 학생? Student. Student. Right here. So we'll write ST, draw a line, and draw it to ST. For numbers 2, 3, and 4, you can do it on your own. When you're done with all 4 words, in part B, you're going to look for the words. 할 수 있죠? Great! Let's keep going. On page 53, our story today is about busy brothers. In the first picture, it says, Steve and Stan are brothers. They have busy weekends, but they have fun. 오, 주말이 굉장히 바쁘구나. In the second picture, it says, Steve usually practices the piano on Saturday morning. Stan always goes to swim practice. 오, 스티브는 보통 피아노 연습을 하고 스탠은 매주 토요일에 수영 연습을 하구나. In the third picture, Steve always does gymnastics on Sunday. Sometimes Stan swims on Sunday too. 일요일마다 스티브는 gymnastics를 한대. 스탠은 가끔씩 일요일에 수영을 한대. In the last picture, they always play video games at 8 on Sunday night. Let's answer the questions. Number 1. Who practices the piano? We'll find the answer in picture number 2. Great job! Steve practices the piano. Number 2. What does Stan always do on Saturday morning? 또 두 번째 사진에 보면 되겠다. Stan always goes to swim class. And number 3. When does Steve do gymnastics? gymnastics가 여기에 나오니까 He does gymnastics on Sunday. Great job! Check your answers and I'll meet you on the next page. On page 54, the directions say to read and match. In number 1, the question says, Do you watch TV after school? 대답할 때 I가 들어가 있어야 되죠? 그러면 I go to art class. No, I don't. 밖에 없네. Do you watch TV after school? Yes 아니면 no로 시작해야죠. 그러면 No, I don't. Number 2. When does she practice karate? 그러면 대답에는 she가 들어가 있어야 되고 그리고 karate에 대한 질문이니까 karate 단어도 있어야 되죠. He plays tennis on the weekend. I go to art school. It's 3:15. She usually practices karate after school. Right here. For numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'd like you to do it on your own. In part B, we're going to unscramble and write. Number 1. Our question is, 너는 목요일에 뭐 해? What do you do on what day? Thursday. What do you do on Thursday? 목요일에는 나는 수영해. I go to swimming class. Numbers 2, 3, and 4, I'd like you to do it on your own. Ready to check? Number 3, what does he do on the weekend? He plays tennis on the weekend. Number 4, what time is it? It's 3:15. Number 5, what do you do on Tuesday? I go to art class. And last, does she do homework on the weekend? No, she doesn't. In number 2, our question should say, what does she do on the weekend? And our answer is, she watches TV. Number 3, our question will say, when does she do gymnastics? She does gymnastics at 5. Number 4, our question should say, does he practice karate after school? No, he doesn't. Check your answers and we'll go to the last page. On page 55, our last page, the directions say to complete the story. We're going to use the words in the box to help us finish the story. My is Kevin. 내 이름은 케빈이야. My name is Kevin. 나는 아일랜드에서 살아. I live in Ireland. 우리 가족은 음악을 좋아해. My family likes music. 우리 아빠는 기타를 쳐. My father plays the guitar. 우리 엄마는 My mother plays the flute. 나는 I play the violin. 우리 동생은 춤을 춰. My sister dances. Don't forget the S. And last, we usually practice every day. Great job. In part D, we are going to match and write. First, let's write the name of the instrument. Our first instrument, 첫 악기는 flute. Next, we have a guitar. And then we have a violin. 마지막은 악기는 아니지만 춤을 추다. Dances. 케빈은 뭐 한다고 했지? I play the violin. sister는 뭐 했지? Dances. 엄마는 flute. And father는 guitar. Double check your answers and we're all done. You did an awesome job today. I'm so proud of you. Keep up the great work. You know what to do. I hope you'll miss me and be ready to play. Koala Teacher will see you in the next video, okay?